Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our first Project Insight Project Makeover. So I guess I'll be your host today. My name is Cejih Yung. I'm the Director of Sales and Development here at Project Insight. We have a very exciting, very awesome show for you, if you can believe it, even though we're going to be talking about spreadsheets. We are going to be walking through a use case of one of our current customers and showing a very powerful, very cool example of kind of what life was like when they were trying to run their projects, manage their teams, their business, really in like many of you guys and many of us in the past in spreadsheets, in the tools that are already available, at the place where you're working. And then we're going to show how, after working with Project Insight software, getting that configured and set up, and how we're able to do some customizing specifically, for their team, what life is like now and after, and sort of that transformation. So hopefully this resonates very much with the crowd that we have, whether it's, this speaks very much to your current use case, and you might be looking to make a switch and learn more, or perhaps you're already using Project Insight and you're looking to gain some extra knowledge, or meet a very special power user within the Project Insight community. You have come to the right place. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm really excited to have two of our special guests today. Right from our customer side is Alicia Holk of Lovelace Biomedical. So Alicia is a research associate as well as senior project manager at Lovelace Biomedical, in addition to being a molecular biologist. So we are really, really lucky to be able to have Alicia here today. I'm very excited. Her use case is actually really fascinating, especially with the work that they're doing there. Also joining us from the Project Insight team is Steve West, our solutions architect. Hey, Steve, thanks for joining.
How are you? Thank you.
Welcome. And we'll kind of be walking through this today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to talk a little bit about the before scenario, some of the pain points. I'm going to hand it over to Alicia as she starts to talk through her customer story, of what life was like, prior to Project Insight, what led her to sort of get involved, reach out to us, and I ultimately actually connect with myself. And we went through a very nice process, working with her on that, and we'll kind of go from there. So, Alicia, maybe you can just want to kick off by giving us a quick rundown of the business that you're doing at Lovelace Biomedical.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so down at Lovelace, we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we're actually a nonprofit preclinical research organization. And what that means is we team up with everyone from academic research labs to biotech labs who are trying to find everything from gene therapies to studying infectious disease. And over the past year and a half, our research facility went from a modest number of studies into tripling our number of studies, focusing largely on COVID research, both treatment and prevention. And so when that happened, we were really struggling to scale up in the sense of improving our communication and streamlining updates and everything between about 15 different departments, around 300 people. So I first reached out to a number of project management sites, and I met up with Cejih, and Project Insight really had all the capabilities, the server power, as well as the customizations to fit our really specific needs, as well as just the overall size of our company's needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in a bit we'll kind of get into you'll be able to show us sort of just kind of a snapshot of some of the spreadsheets that you were using, what that looked like. I mean, I'm sure everyone on here is really excited to see more spreadsheets. And then, I have a few questions on that, but, if we want to maybe, I guess, start to bring those up, we can start to roll through that process a little bit. Nice.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful color-wise.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's like I said, a couple years ago when we had fewer studies, this wasn't as intimidating, and it was a lot easier to kind of keep track of everything. But as I was brought on with the COVID studies, it kind of got out of hand. You can see it's huge, and this is just a partial one. It's not even a complete file. So what happened is just the communication in general, it was really tough. Anytime something shifted or changed, you're talking about getting in touch with like at least 30 people every time there was a minor change, and it was all manual. So you can imagine there was a lot of communication breakdown where people were showing up for events that weren't occurring, or we didn't have the right number of people showing up. And so we really needed a way to streamline it, to take it from manual input, because this is just one Excel file. We have a SharePoint full of different trackers for different departments, and all of them were managed manually. So it was really difficult.
Absolutely. And to anyone in the audience, one thing I forgot to mention is go ahead and any questions that you have, any comments, drop them in the comments section in the bar, and we'll make sure either Alicia or Steve and I will get to those during the course of today's show. And from a time standpoint, you know, I know you started off being able to do this very, you know, you said it kind of worked, but then as the business grew, it quickly did not. How much time were you spending? Because I know that was an important issue where you kind of reached your breaking point.
Yeah,
where you knew you had to change.
I would say initially it was probably like a third of my time during the week was spent, you know, checking on studies, making sure any updates, and it quickly became like I'd say like 100. At one point I said it was 125% of my time, and we started joking that we were the rescheduling department because everything kept changing so quickly. It really, the scheduling, the initial studies was nothing. It was all the changes. So every time there was a change, it set us back, and I was working on this nonstop.
So this basically consumed your, not even just your work hours, but almost your outside work and partially your life. So you needed to take the power back.
And just to clarify, I am only essentially in charge of 2 departments on that list of 15 departments. So we have someone in my position for all the other departments as well. And so I started spearheading this because we're one of the larger ones. So we have a lot of people working on scheduling, and it's a big time sink.
No, absolutely. I can't even imagine. And I'm sure with that, there were issues, visibility, version control. You know, I mean, you're trying to share this with a lot of different people, and more importantly, get the information in this out and distributed across multiple departments. Version
control was a huge issue because people would save the file on their desktop and then use that as their reference, so they wouldn't have to go into the SharePoint. And then every time the SharePoint was updated, they would be using the wrong version, and it might just be small changes. And so they didn't notice a difference just by looking at it. And then you'd end up with, like I said, one day you have people show up or people not show up, and it was a huge issue with scheduling.
Yeah, and that can really impact the business, and is definitely a pain point. So, you know, I'd love to hear from the audience if anyone currently has, you know, who's going through issues right now with version control, with trying to get more of your project data, you know, more visibility across the enterprise. If anyone has a serious issue with that, definitely please put that in the comments, and we will reach out to you to talk. But well, why don't we go ahead and start to, you know, talk about how this kind of evolved into, you know, obviously we connected, you know, we spent a lot of time looking at this, and then we started to get this imported into Project Insight.
Yeah, so when I first talked with you, Cejih, I mentioned that one of the biggest issues is that our studies are really long. They're very large, like a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. And so we worked pretty closely in figuring out what the essential tasks were to get imported. And being able to import through Excel was a huge plus because we live obviously on Excel. So we took our study files and we worked together to make sure they could import. And we worked out a lot of the kinks on our end and trained our staff on how to use the new file import. And it's been really good. it imports everything from the staff you need, the dates, the times, start and end times. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and show, if now works, we'll go ahead and kind of show a visual of that, and start to walk our audience through, what they're seeing.
So just, the story that you are talking about, Alicia, is it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like almost every business we see that comes in that hasn't used a project management solution before, they have that problem with the spreadsheet where that becomes it. You start off with the spreadsheet helping you, and then in the end, you just feed the spreadsheet all the time. And it's not just one spreadsheet; it can be multiple spreadsheets, version control problems everywhere. And the downside of the spreadsheet is it doesn't do anything else other than a visual of your column. So what we've done is we took those projects and we created projects in Project Insight. And what I'm showing here now is an expanded version of the same spreadsheet basically that she had there before. The difference is this is interactive with projects in Project Insight, where we got all the different phases here showing, or the statuses. And if I just expand them all, you can see it all online just like you would in that spreadsheet. But the real benefit here of Project Insight is that, or any tool for that matter that's online, is that when someone updates their project plan, it's automatically updated in this view, in this portfolio report that we're showing this data, so that it's not like executing the project and then remembering to come over, oh yeah, I gotta go update the master spreadsheet now. As the team does the work in the tool, because our tool will route all the tasks to the right people, that your team members end up being able to very easily see what's going on at any time, anywhere in the world, with any device they're using, their phone or their Slack or their Microsoft Teams. All that's available there. But as they edit it, it just edits in line, right on there, right in this report. And just like Excel, if you want to, you can just double click on any of these values and update them right in our tool as well. So it still does the basics of what a spreadsheet does. The difference is this is being fed by all the team members through the whole application. How did you find converting to your team to this? I mean, how did that impact your timing, Alicia? Did that like reduce the management that you were having to do?
Oh, yeah. So what I was going to say is actually we had a pretty complicated workflow where, like you said, someone has to make an edit and then they have to edit it elsewhere. And that included from the study design all the way down to scheduling the staff for it. So every time there was a change, you had to go into every single area and update that. This is pretty much immediate. So as soon as you update it, you can update everyone's calendars on Outlook. We use Outlook and syncs to that, so everyone can see what they're on. If a study gets pulled, you can put them on hold and it'll pull from their calendars. All the departments can keep track of their schedule, but everything's live, and that's essentially what we were missing. So this became so efficient, and we were able to track our hours so well that we actually have been able to take on more studies because of it. We're able to coordinate better and faster, so we can confirm studies faster as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and the team members, I think sometimes, we have different various things happening. Most of the time these days, team members really like to be able to just know that when they're doing work and they're updating their tasks, that it actually is, that they don't have to reach out and wait for you to call them or answer an email. And it does save them time and saves you time by doing that. I'm going to show a different report here because we talked about some visuals there. This is just one schedule tracker that replaces one of your spreadsheets, but we also have this cross-project Gantt chart view that shows kind of the timelines at a high level. And I know that you probably your team hasn't using this as much as others, but this does allow you to see, where you are in all your projects all in one view. The same thing is organized by status. So this is kind of an extension of, this spreadsheet, is one file with a bunch of data in it. And if for you to do a graphic like that I'm showing you here, you would actually have to probably maintain a whole different set of data or do a really complicated, connection between two spreadsheets. So what's really powerful is that this is exactly the same information here as that other report.
Yeah. What's really nice is I can actually filter by studies that just affect our specific department, or I can view the entire company outright, and it gives you a lot of flexibility.
And like you mentioned before, the departments. So another benefit is that in the spreadsheet, you really have no idea how busy your team are. You know what the dates are in the old way. If you have your old project plan here with all the dates, sure, you know what the dates are, and you can print this out and give it to your executives, and they love the colors and all that. But there's nothing in this spreadsheet or any of these sheets that say, well, how busy are my people really going to be, or my departments even. So that brings us to this kind of report, like that we have right here. Let me find it. This capacity report. So once you put your project plans in there, now you can actually see which groups are busy and how busy they are. And you can see this physiology team's a little overloaded right now because this is the capacity of the whole group. And you can click in here and drill in. I'm not going to do that right now because we're keeping this information confidential for Lovelace, and I'll show it in another view. But you can drill in on this department to see like what the granular details are on, how have you found this report to be for you guys?
Yeah, this one's great because before what we were having to do is if we wanted to confirm a study in the future, like a project coming up, we had to pull up every possible study to see which ones we had already confirmed and then try and line them up to see if there were any conflicts and if we had the people. And this just does it automatically. We really didn't have a way to do that before. And so this is why I was saying we're able to actually book more projects because we have this view. We know that we're not overscheduling.
Yeah, and it gives you more confidence to know what's going on. If there is a conflict, then you can maybe decide. A lot of things I see a lot of times clients without the capacity, what happens is you don't know. Every team member ends up making the decision on what project to work on. When you have an over allocation, then by having visibility, as a company, you could say, you know what, we're going to pause this other project and focus on this other one real easily, as opposed to it kind of just happening to you where everything ends up getting late and not just the couple that you can actually selectively choose. Looks like you guys are pretty green here, except for this little part.
That's our group. Yeah.
Your group.
Yeah, well, one of the great things that I forgot to mention on top of taking on more work is a lot of our directors were actually coming in and helping in the research themselves, which really is overtasking on them. And now that we've coordinated, they're almost never on actual study side, which allows them to actually build the reports and analyze data and things like that. So it's really lightened the load for just about everybody.
That's great. So I'm going to show this just for the sake of it, what that report looks like if you were to drill into it. This is just a demo site, but underneath those departments, you can actually drill into each individual and see, okay, here's, why is Emily over, or why is John Johnson over? I can drill in here and I can see, well, there's 30 hours on this project and 40 hours on that project. So, and then you can even drill in and find out which task exactly and reassign a task so that way it rebalances right there. Those hours now, John is gone and Jeff has taken over for him in this demo. Have you tried the drag and drop on here yet for reassigning?
Yeah, it's fine if you just have a few studies, like if you're just looking at like a 1 week window. And we've had good luck with it. Right now, we've been using our Outlook view since our staff has other events on their Outlook as well. Yeah. So that's kind of our main view at the moment. But yeah, this is helpful. It's really helpful with room reservations. So we have people request certain rooms. So if the rooms are double booked, we can kind of reassign the rooms that way as well.
Yeah,
Same
down
with
here.
equipment. Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, in Project Insight, pieces of equipment or rooms and things like that that are limited, they can also be resources just like a person. So you can have a capacity on them as well. So I'm glad that you're able to take advantage of that feature.
Yeah, it's worked really well. It's been, like I said, a game changer.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything else that you find that we haven't really covered here as far as getting out of the spreadsheets that you're not doing anymore? Are there things that you were doing in the spreadsheet that we have replaced completely?
Yeah, so in the actual study file, we have staff requests from different departments for different events. You can think of them like meetings, but they're just different research events that have to take place at a certain time. And what was happening is you never knew who was on your study. So if you go all the way to the right, you'll see like X's or ones where it's like this department, I need one person for that event.
Yeah.
You would have to take this study, go into people's Outlook, create all these different events for everybody who's going to be on it. And then if it's a different department, then you had to go and see who that department assigned. And then if the study shifted or changed at all, you then had to go back and update it. Or if someone called in sick, you had to go back and update it.
Yeah.
And it was awful. And so now
it's hard.
we're able to
It's hard just
live.
to hear. It's hard just to hear you describe that, Alicia. And
I mean, it was really impressive the amount of work. Everyone really kept up with it. But when I tell you it takes a lot of time, it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
But this is much easier. It's all live, which is the best part. So if changes are made, everyone can see it immediately. And if they want notifications, they can be set up to see any changes that are made. So it's made a big difference.
And I guess on that, topic, just to kind of circle back, one of the things that we talked about was how much time you were spending. And you mentioned that you've even been able to add more business, add more, projects, more studies. How do you find you're spending your time now?
Now I probably work on the studies. I get a new study a couple times a week, and it's pretty minimal. A lot of the time that I spend on actual scheduling, I'd say it's about maybe 50% of my schedule now is scheduling, and most of that is making sure we have the right staff assigned. So every time a study comes in or someone's out, but it's much more manageable, even with increasing the number of studies we're doing.
Yeah, and it sounds like the quality of the tasks that you're actually doing is a lot better versus going into people's outlooks, scheduling it.
Yeah, I mean, I have this thing where if it's tedious and repetitive and I can make mistakes, it's very frustrating to work on those sort of things because you're going to make errors, and doing the same thing over and over again, it's just enough to drive you crazy.
I'm sure no one in the audience can relate at all. So
no, very unique to our company. Yes, very unique to our needs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think I want to show one more screen here before we wrap this up. But here you're looking at the project home screen, and this is where each project manager or even a team member can come and see like a high level of all of their projects and where you might actually begin to work on it. This view shows you how far you are done on here. If you're actually keeping track of budget, you guys aren't, but if there was a budget number, you'd actually see a bar chart of that. You just get a real high level of your project. Now, each one of these links here goes to a task list and a Gantt chart and all the details involved in a project. Can we click into one of these, or is there private info in here? Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
let me show it. I can show a sample here. If in our demo site, we can just click on a project plan like this, and you can see here are just some basic tasks in the hierarchy, just like you would in Microsoft Project. This is where all of the actual individual tasks are done and any kind of budgeting information on here. These views, these are the details that end up driving back to this capacity report and this scheduling report here. So what's really cool is that as a project manager, you know, these could be templates too, that all these tasks get routed to the person on their device who does the work, and they can just mark tasks off. And so you end up having, in the old model as a project manager, when you have a spreadsheet, you have your spreadsheet and you have to communicate out to every team member what they're doing and make sure they look at it and have them either log on and know to go buried onto some SharePoint location and update some things. What happens here is our tool takes those tasks, routes them to their smartphone, puts it into their app, sends them an email, whatever the person prefers. It can send them a Slack message, it can send them a Microsoft Teams message, whatever their tool is, they can go into it, mark their task off, enter any time, enter any expenses they might have on the task. That information just rolls right back up. And you know, that really saves project managers a ton of time. Just the fact that this information is being routed to each individual, and they know, you know, they know what they're supposed to do because they can just see it right from their home screen. These are their tasks they're supposed to do. They can mark it off right here. That's how to do it in the full web app. So, you know, we were talking about the spreadsheets themselves, but the spreadsheets just don't do anything like this for anybody. And that's the benefit of now, you know, not only are we routing the tasks and getting everything out to the people that need to do it, that's making the spreadsheet and making those reports that you saw, so you don't have to double enter any of that information. So
yeah, the reports is one of the things I use probably all day, every day. You can build any kind of report you need, just pulling. I even had reports built for each staff member because they have to build different studies. So every study they're assigned to at the end of the week, they get an email that lists all their billing codes and how many hours they were assigned each day for that study. You can pull everything you need, or study days that, you know, you still need to staff, you can pull that report as well. So it's really helpful.
And have you noticed any feedback from, you know, the other users, or, you know, even those who are getting, you know, getting these notifications, and, you know, their interaction with Project Insight may be, you know, very limited just to a task level, but, you know, any change?
So yeah, so with our group, I took our coordinators and I trained them on how to adjust the times and events and things like that, and even staff. Sure. And they've gotten a lot more comfortable with it. I still work with the import just because I think that there's a lot of aspects to our studies that I want to make sure are correct. But overall, they're much more comfortable with using it. There is a bit of a learning curve, and I think, you know, that can be a little intimidating at times, but I think the payoff was really worth it. And with other departments coming on board, you know, they're a little hesitant to start, but as soon as I tell them that it syncs to Outlook and the rest of their team doesn't need to touch it, yeah, they're like, okay, great, because their biggest concern is introducing another program to use on top of what everyone else is using. If it works in our workflow, and that's why it's become so efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you need resources, you know, information on features or help, you know, from our team, how has that been for you?
That's been great. Like I said, I looked at multiple programs before we decided on Project Insight, and just your question and answer, like your support page, is super helpful with all the videos and everything. But your customer service is like top notch. I get responses right away. I know I have annoyed the ever-loving daylights out of your support team with all my questions and customizations that we are trying to build out, and they have been nothing but helpful. And it's been essential to getting it off the ground for us, because we had a lot of kind of unique concerns that we wanted to build into it, and it's been a great experience.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what drives the innovation at Project Insight, you know, is the needs that come from our customers. Our dev team gets very excited about it, and we try to push it to market. So I guess we're going to be wrapping up, and, you know, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to email us. You know, you can contact us directly at sales@projectinsight.com, and we'll be sure to send this recording out, you know, to everyone else as well. If anyone is interested in, you know, we are going to be doing this again. If anyone's interested in a project makeover like this, contact us, let us know, and we'd be happy to work directly with your team, see if we can make a real impact and go from there. You know, I did kind of want to close just with one more thing for Alicia, who, you know, I know has some exciting stuff, you know, coming down the pipeline, but I'm not sure if it looks like she might be off the screen. But Alicia, you have some cool stuff that you're going to be doing. You know, I'd love to maybe you could share a little bit about your abstract and the presentation that you were have been selected to do, which was very competitive.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be presenting at the in October in Kansas City, Missouri, at the ALAS. It's a national research organization. They're having a conference, and we're going to be presenting on some of the different project management tools out there today, how to incorporate it into the research field, pros and cons, what works for us, which is obviously Project Insight, and then some of the things to look out for when you're trying to identify a program for your own company. So I think people are really excited about it. I'm excited to talk about it because we've gone through quite a number of programs before we fell on Project Insight, and we learned a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, congratulations on that. I know that was
Thank
actually
you.
a very competitive selection. You know, that you had to go through a very competitive process for. So we're excited and look forward to working with you and supporting you on that and in that endeavor. And I know we have some other exciting things in the pipeline that we're working on that we can't talk about, but you know, we'll go from there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you for your time, Steve. Great job. And we will see everyone at the next show. Bye.